back. It was that short, Senator Onyonka. And we're still here. We are looking for answers. So Article 37 of the Constitution talks about every person has the right peaceably and unarmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. And the Azimio side has been doing these demonstrations. Earlier in the year, they were giving notice to the police. The police were declining that and giving reasons why that they should not be allowed to demonstrate. Lately, there are no notifications, actually. They just announce and they go. Why the change of tack? But also some of those concerns that are raised by Honorable Doctor here that it is not possible in Kenya to have any peaceful demonstrations.
I would like to help my brother Lotte to understand where we've been. Let's start with analyzing the basics. You know, in life, sometimes you look at the basics. What has been happening to the people who have died in these demonstrations, Sami? How have they died? They've all been shot. By who? By the police. None of these people have been shot where the demonstrators had guns and they were shooting at people. So how can my brothers here say that because people are actually exercising their democratic right, then it means that these people actually don't have any rights whatsoever because they're the ones who are starting the violence and whatever? The truth is, Azimio has been telling the government, keep the police officers out of this, allow us to come even to the CBD. None of our people are going to break these windows and doors of the shops and everything. Basically, the expression we want is that this team of KK has government. They will have their way. We will have our say. Let them allow us to have our say. When they're busy discussing about this thing about Raila, my brothers, let me tell you, if you concentrate discussing Raila, President Franklin Roosevelt ran for elections 19 times. He won on the 19th one. All right, that's historical fact. So the fact that Raila has been there has, of course, had a lot of input and a lot of impact onto the Kenyan socio-political matrix. That doesn't mean he hasn't made any mistakes. But Raila is not the problem of a damn country. Raila is not the one who makes elections get stolen. Raila is not the one who has made sure that the price of fuel is twice what it was 8 months ago. Yes, the truth is the issues that you inherited as KK are much more weighty and they need more impact and they need the president to engage and maneuver and everything. The problem that you've got, Sami, within the KK government is that everybody thinks they can be president, everybody thinks they're going to be rich, everybody thinks it's an advantage for them to go and acquire certain benefits and rights and everything to reward themselves and their friends. And yet the reality that we are talking about is very simple. Let the Kenya Kwanza government realize that when you govern, you don't trample on your people's rights. When you govern, you don't insult the people you have defeated in elections. That there's a way you handle people who have half the country. And yet these other half which you have, you don't even know whether you've kept it anyway. So what we are saying, Sam, is very simple. This has never been a Raila story. The truth is, it is true Raila has been there, William has been there, Uhuru has been there. Right now you have people talking about Uhuru is spending 40 million shillings. Please, let the government just give us the evidence. Let them give us. Everybody keeps talking about Uhuru is sponsoring, Some of those people, I was in Kisii when the riots were taking place. The people who are getting into the streets, there are people who get into the streets. You don't have to give them money. People are extremely angry in this country. And you need a president who's going to sit down and talk to people with dignity and with decency and all his team, including my brothers here. We are pleading with you guys. Please don't escalate this thing to the point where we go back to 2009, where we are always repeating Raila, Let us be a country where we are beginning to look at our issues, the electoral issues, Sami. We don't even have the IBC. If you look at what Kriegler said, I wish I could read it, but I don't have time. Kriegler said, find out a way on how you're going to make sure that when your elections take place, they are ended with finality. Every 5 years, our elections are boomeranging the country. The country wants to get into civil war. Then you start talking about it is Raila. It is not Raila. Raila is a consequence of the events of this country. Raila is the consequence.
Okay.
In other words, a country where you win elections and your elections are stolen once, they are stolen twice. When they are stolen a third time, they then say you are doing it because you want a power grab and you want to get money and you want to... I believe that even when Raila was actually signing an agreement with Uhuru to have a handshake, it was good for the country and not necessarily that Raila was going to benefit from what was happening. And look at when Uhuru governed. For the last 5 years, who has been in the opposition? Of course, it has been William Ruto. Uhuru governed, there was only one scandal. Look at the scandals you are running through Ruto's government today. You can name them. Look, listen to the things which are going on.
You're saying during Uhuru time, there was only one scandal?
Yeah, KEMSA.
That is not factual.
Which other one?
There are many outside KEMSA.
No, I'm talking about the last 5 years. After they're broken up with the vice president. We've done the data. Only one. And in a period of 1 year that President William Ruto has been in power, there are about 9 scandals running simultaneously.
And the clearance of scandals.
In 2018, I remember reporting about some maize scandal, of how maize was bought from neighboring countries and sold to NCPB.
Yes.
That was a scandal.
Yes, when?
2018.
But Sammy, I'm talking about...
2018 is within the second term.
Who was the president of Kenya? Okay, 2. I've given you 2 scandals for Uhuru.
I think...
how many are we having... wait, how many are you having in the KK... Sammy, how many are you having in the KK government? You have fertilizer, you have cooking oil now, you have got sugar, you have got...
Something else you mentioned, that President Roosevelt ran for how many elections before winning?
19.
Do you mean Roosevelt or someone else?
Benjamin Franklin.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll look at that.
Okay, check it out.
Honorable Wandeto,
yes,
so we were busy here looking for solutions.
Yes.
But also, you're saying that it is not possible that Raila is fighting or the Azimio team is fighting for the real things. You're actually calling them non-issue. How would you suggest that we implement Article 37 of the Constitution?
Sam, before I talk about Article 37, which is the Bill of Rights. First of all, let me say that in this country we have had peaceful demonstration. I've seen doctors on strike and they move around town. I've seen nurses. I've seen some civil society organizations, and it's been peaceful. The only time peace has been breached, it is any time we have this same person that Onyonka is saying we should not mention. Anytime he has led demonstrations or he has called for demonstrations, they have actually not been demonstrations. My brother Lotte gave it the right word, riots. Even what is being planned tomorrow is riots. And to Senator Onyonka, I think the more you are telling us not to mention this name, the more you mention it, the more actually you are telling Kenyans where the real problem is. And as they say, the guilty are afraid. But I'm also happy, Sam, that Senator Onyonka seems to have some brief moments of brilliance. I've seen him talk about 2 very important things that I think I need to commend him about. He said that first, in his first chance, he said, first of all, the president also inherited a weighted situation, which I liked. So it's an acknowledgement of where we really are and what we are up against. And I think in the second time, he has also said that this thing requires time to fix the situation. This government, Sam, is barely 8 months old.
No, it's 10.
It's 10.
Yeah.
If you look from the date of swearing in of the president, one of the presidents was...
Please, Honorable Wandeto,
whatever.
It is 10 years.
It's 10 months. Okay, granted. 10 months, even Sam, when it's still a fairly young government. Have they done things that tell Kenyans we are heading the right direction? I think yes. Are we in a difficult situation, Sam? Nobody has said that there is no cost of living crisis. Nobody has said, Kenyans are not hurting. I think on that we agree. I think where we differ is how we fix the situation. And Sam, you said, do we have a solution? I think we have a solution. And let me prescribe it. Let me say it in very, very simple terms. The solution is, and I hope Onyonka and Osoti here can deliver our message in the simplest way possible. The solution is for Baba and let me call him Baba this time, to just call off tomorrow's riots. He has the phone number for President William Ruto. If he has some 5 points or 10 points on how we can fix this cost of living issue, let him call the president. I don't think the president will refuse. And if the president doesn't pick, let him send him a WhatsApp. Because I think what we are seeing here is this disguise about the cost of living. Surely, I do not see why we require international community if this is the issue. And that's why I say, if the issue if the issue is cost of living, let us even call a conference. Let us have a 2-day conference to discuss how to reduce the cost of living. And let us hear Onyonka's point, let us hear our sources. Let everyone talk, and then we come up with this 10-point
plan. Who will organize that conference?
Anybody can. I wish that is what
I like this guy.
I wish that is what Onyonka is organizing instead of organizing riots tomorrow.
I'm not the president.
I will attend this conference.
Honorable Wandeto,
So what I'm trying to say, Sam, let me finish. What I'm trying to say is that sorry, Sam, if you don't mind, let me just finish. Sam, what I'm trying to say is that this thing is being escalated. This thing is not a cost of living issue. Otherwise, why would we be calling upon why would it be even attracting international community if it was about the cost of living? This thing is a political situation. Someone has not accepted that the political competition is settled through election. He would prefer to settle it in another way.
Honorable Wandeto, if you look at the Daily Nation this morning, the country's fate lies in these men's hands, that is Raila Odinga and William Ruto. You're saying that they can actually speak on WhatsApp or they can call a conference. But we're here talking about at least 14 confirmed deaths. You're reporting 25. We reported 14 on Thursday last week. I don't know how you're tabulating that.
I saw it on media as well, yeah?
Okay.
Someone say 23, 25, so...
Yeah. So we can say between 14 and 25. But there are real concerns. There is danger to life, danger to property that has already been seen.
Who is causing it?
That's what I'm saying. When it comes to resolving an issue, is it a question of WhatsApp messages?
No, what I'm trying to say is that this whole situation is in the hands of Raila Odinga. The person the whole country should be calling to order.
Okay.
Is this one person. Let him stop the riots tomorrow and let us dialogue. Remember, we had started bipartisan talks. They walked away.
Sam,
I don't want to sound like I'm making this is a grave national issue. But what I'm trying to say, the solution is not as complex as is being portrayed here. It is doable. Okay. Someone needs to come from their moral high ground, come down and engage. And the first thing that Raila should do is to call off tomorrow's riots. Actually, if he did, if there is something that can cement Raila Odinga's legacy, a man we have always admired, especially for his work in fighting for the second liberation of this country, a man who is now very, very quickly undoing his legacy, it is calling tomorrow's riots.
Okay. All right. Senator...
It's the president who should call the meeting, not Raila.
I hear you. Senator Osotsi, you're saying that there's need to withdraw the finance bill so that's partly to lower the cost of living. What power does Parliament have at the moment?
first of all, Sam, you had asked as a question that what is the way forward? And I said, one is let the KK government deal with the issue of cost of living. And then two, withdraw the finance bill. And when we talk about withdrawing the finance bill, we don't say that now the government should stop collecting taxes. Because even now they're collecting taxes. Because every year during the budget making process, there is a finance bill. We have Finance Act 2022, which is in force until a new act comes into force. So they have a chance to say, okay, if the problem is a finance bill, we are putting it aside. And these are the measures.
How do you do that? under the law?
They can do that.
How?
They can do that. It's provided for under the law.
Walk me through.
One of the ways is to repeal that act.
How do you want that done?
Take it back to Parliament, make amendments that Kenyans want, and we move on. That is very easy in law. In the standing orders, it's there.
How soon can that happen after a bill has been passed?
If there is goodwill, it can happen. We have seen laws that have been passed in one day.
Yes.
On the floor of the House.
I'm asking because this bill was passed towards the end of, actually I think it was around 21st of June.
Let's see if there's an
and it was signed into law. So is there a window period during which time a law can be reviewed, an act can be reviewed?
You see, they say it takes 6 months to bring back a matter that has been dispensed by Parliament. But there can be a motion on the floor of the House to reduce that period. Once the entire House passes that motion, then that particular legislation can be reintroduced in the House and repealed.
And if that is a possibility, why aren't you pursuing it? We haven't seen...
No, that's why we are talking about it, Sam.
Yeah.
We are talking about it. The problem we are having...
But you see, Honorable Senator...
The problem...
Just hold on. I'm still with you. Yes, you're saying that here, but that should be happening in Parliament.
Let me tell you one thing. We are out there because we have gone to the people. Because this Parliament, especially the National Assembly, is all taken over.
By the executive.
By the executive.
So even the amendments
these guys
would want to make, they would not allow.
And last time I was here, Sam, I said that I have met members of Parliament, including members of Parliament from where Wandeto comes from, Mount Kenya. They said that they are unhappy with that bill, but because they were intimidated, because phone calls were made to them, they decided to say yes to the bill. What kind of Parliament
Apparently,
is that?
Senator,
And in fact, let me tell you, Sam, you had your time. And you're my friend. My friend, you know, you must have some decorum. We are very senior politicians here, me and Senator Onyonka.
Please carry on. Don't be provoked.
You see, let me tell you one thing. Honorable Osoro, who is the majority whip in the National Assembly, brought it out very clearly that the members of Parliament were bribed. Some of them were against the bill, but because they were given money, he actually said soup. Because they were given soup, they ended up voting for that bill. So Kenyans who went out for public participation, 99% of them, they were against the bill. The members of Parliament went against the wish of the people and voted in that bill. So the public has no any other recourse apart from going back to Article 1 of the Constitution, which elected him into office.
So Article 1 of the Constitution, sovereignty of the people, all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only in accordance with this Constitution. Sub-Article 2, the people may exercise their sovereign power either directly or through their democratically elected representatives. You are the democratically elected representatives.
Yes.
Right?
But the mandate I have.
Just confirm that.
Yes, yes.
But it may also be exercised directly.
Yes.
And that is what you are looking for.
Yes.
So how exactly are you going to do that?
We are saying that Parliament has delegated powers, delegated to them by the people of Kenya, not by the president or by any other person, by the people of Kenya. In the event that power is misused, the people of Kenya have the powers to exercise that power directly.
And you think that's the case now?
And that is why we are out there asking for signatures. We are asking Kenyans to mechoka. They should sign so that we exercise our power as the people of Kenya.
Tell me how that is done, because how power is exercised by the representatives, it is clear it is in the Constitution.
You see, Sam, you are driving me to a point where you want me to reveal Azimio's secrets, and I'm not in a position to do that. What I can tell you is that that Article 1 of the Constitution is not there in vain. It has a purpose. And the framers of this Constitution knew the reason why we had Article 1 of the Constitution. And even the preamble to the Constitution talks about we the people. We the people. He doesn't talk about
We
I,
MPs.
the president. He talk about we the people. We know how to do it. They are clueless. We'll show them how to implement Article 1 of the Constitution.
Sam,
No, let me hear Honorable Lote first.
I rejoined that because I was attacked by...
No.
Please note it down.
Okay, good.
Don't feel attacked. Don't feel provoked. We'll have enough time for you to give your rebuttal. But Honorable Lote, so as we move in this direction, Archbishop of Nyeri, Anthony Muheria, said that leadership is supposed to be humane, empathetic, and compassionate. And he felt that currently the leader, his words, is rough, insultive, imposing, and arrogant. Do you agree? And what is in the power of the president that he can do? Because at the end of the day, he is the leader of this country.
Well, thank you. Those could be the words of the bishop. Probably those are personal opinion. And personal opinions, I cannot be able to comment because it doesn't give me the standing to comment on what made him think so. One thing that I wanted to actually say...
I'm just asking if you agree that the president or the leader in the country is arrogant, insultive, imposing.
He is not arrogant, he is not imposing, he is not anything that has been...
Is he humane, empathetic, compassionate?
Yes, he is humane.
How so?
Yeah, he is humane.
How so?
One, for us to be able to say that he's humane, he's actually been one of the presidents that actually been found to be with the people at all the time. And he listens to the people at all the time. He is compassionate to the levels where, at the levels where this country was breaking out in March this year, even before we started speaking about the cost of living. At that time, as humane as he could, he actually said, let's agree to have a bipartisan talk within Parliament. And he said that is a structured way in which is provided by this Constitution. What happened is, when this particular kind of talks were taking place, and the other side realized that there were fruits coming out of it, they broke it because that was not their objective. Their objective is to ensure that this country is burning so that they can be able to get whatever they want. I clearly want to defend Parliament from what I've actually had today. And if that article of the Constitution, Article number 1, is anything to go by, is either directly exercised by the people or through their representations. All of us that are here are representing our people. If the people sitting here with us today believe that we want to exercise the power directly, first of all, they need to stand down from the positions that they are, because there is no juxtaposition where you are at the same time representing the people and at the same time you want the people to exercise their powers directly. So first of all, they need to tender their resignation and say, now we are tired, we cannot be able to represent our people, now let's allow the people to go to the streets. That section of the Constitution was not well thought through because, like you asked rightly, what provisions are there for people to exercise their power directly? It is not there. But everything else is on how this power is supposed to be exercised through the representatives. And we've seen that. The president is a representative of the people. He is elected. And I want to say it clearly here, Sam, that the misrepresentation of facts that we've seen from this other side is not very good. For us to be told that 99% of Kenyans rejected, what data are they putting before everybody that 99% of Kenyans rejected this particular bill? And to just make it clear, it is no longer a bill. It is an act. It's actually a finance act now. It's no longer a bill. And where the source says that we have a Finance Act 2022, it ignores the fact that we've got a Finance Act 2023 that has been signed. So first of all, let's agree that let's respect the institutions. Whether we like what has gone through or not, let us respect that it went through the whole process. Parliament, personally, myself, sits in Parliament. My brother here sits in Parliament. They sit in the Senate. I did not see myself being cajoled. I did not see myself being forced. I did not see myself being bribed. And the reason why things are peddled that are not true, when you say that this year, within 10 months, that the country has taken 1.2 trillion in loans, that is still a lie. There is no fact to that. The fact that I have is we've taken not more than 700 billion as a loan for this country. So when we come and tell people all the time... Pardon?
How are you counting?
counting. I got that government documents on that. 1.2 trillion is a fast from these people so that they build up the emotions of Kenyans that they are suffering. The reason why we are going to the demonstration is not because of the cost of food. It is not. In any case, if these people were genuine, when the bill was going through the whole process, and it went through the whole process, public participation, it came to the first reading, second reading, it went all the way to voting, and it went all the way for the assassination of the president. At the time before it was made into an act, they were very silent. Why? Because they knew that is the point where we could stop and agree on some of the items that are within this particular bill. But immediately it was assented by the president is when they come to the street and say, now we've seen he assigned it, now we want to fight. Let's go to the streets. Now let's call it back. The law is clear. Let's allow this act to now take effect. In any case, there's a Kenyan that has gone to court, and the court has given a stay order so that our act is not in effect now until that time. And the president is humane because he has respected that as well.
What do you mean he's respected that?
He's respected that because the court said the Finance Act cannot take effect.
What is the price of fuel at the moment?
The price of fuel has actually been done by IPRA, and IPRA is not the first time that IPRA has been adjusting prices of fuel. No, every 14th
is it based
day,
on the Finance Act 2023?
Every 14th day of the month.
Right.
IPRA has been given. It's not the first time. It's been there all.
Which is fine. Honorable Lote, the latest announcement, which was on Friday last week, did you see it?
I saw it. I saw it.
Does it implement Finance Act 2023?
Yes, it does.
It actually implements what IPRA has been doing.
No, I'm talking about the announcement by IPRA.
As per.
As per what?
As per the market forces.
No. VAT is at 16%.
Yes.
In that IPRA
previously it was at 8%.
They have reduced the import declaration fee as per the Finance Act of 2023. So is Railway Development Levy as per Finance Act 2023. So indeed, IPRA is implementing the Finance Act 2023 despite the suspension.
You know, why IPRA is implementing is they have not gotten a written directives.
Are you sure?
On this.
Sami.
Just hold on. Let me ask you, if a court pronounces itself on 30th of June that this Finance Act is suspended, what should the agencies that are affected by such a law do?
They need to be notified that the courts have declared, because sometimes in this country there's a lot of discussions. Some of the discussions are actually made into discussions that are looking like they're coming from the real sources, but some of them do not really come from the real sources. So the fact is, this is a weighty matter that requires. It is your position that it is possible IPRA does not know about that court order. If they have not been notified, if they have not been notified, if they have not been notified that you should not take this, because IPRA is implementing what government is supposed to be doing, and if the government has not.
Honorable Lotte, if you know that actually there have been orders, how do you explain that IPRA is not aware?
I have not said IPRA is not aware. IPRA could be aware, but IPRA needs to be notified and say, please take note that this is a decision that has been made by the court, and this is a decision that you need not to implement. If they are not being told, Vanasam, you do not expect them to just believe.
So they have to be told.
Yes,
so
they have to be anything in this country. Anything in this country, you need
I'll
to be
give you a
right.
chance, Senator Nyonka. So at the end of the month, remember there were changes to taxation for persons that are earning more than 500,000 shillings every month. There's also a change because housing levy is supposed to be 1.5%. This is a new rate. It is being challenged in court.
But nobody has implemented that.
I'm coming to the question. So towards the end of the month, if that conservatory order is not lifted, should you expect KRA and everyone else to implement that levy?
I don't think they will.
Why?
Because the conservatory orders are still in place. So they will not actually. And the reason why this particular government respects the rule of law is when somebody went to court, they even also not implemented as per the conservatory orders.
You know, that's contradictory. Totally contradictory.
It is not contradictory.
Because you're saying they
will. I've said some. Listen, I've said, and you've asked a very right question. You've asked if by the end of this month that the conservatory orders have not been lifted, do you expect KRA to implement it? I've said they will not implement it. And when we talk about IPRA, I have said IPRA implements its decision all the time at the 14th day of the month. And it's not the first time. So these are different things. If this government was wrong, I will actually give an affirmation that by end of this month, they will implement the housing levy. No, not even a housing levy, it's actually an housing task. They will not implement as long as the conservatory orders are. And they cannot be able to do one thing on this other side and one thing on this other side.
Unfortunately, I wish I had known when I was coming here that I have a friend of mine called Mr. Kioko. He sells cars. He told me day before yesterday that he lost a client by simply the new act being implemented at the Port of Mombasa, where 460,000 was actually added onto the car. Sam, if you can agree, next time I come, I'll bring you that invoice. And you'll see what is being implemented. Our brothers here are in KK Alliance. You know, KK Alliance is so big, sometimes they don't even know what their government is doing. All right? But let's be very practical, Sami, and be realistic and say this. One of the criticism that the KK Alliance had labeled against President Uhuru forever and ever, close to the 5 years I think they had disagreed with President William Ruto, is how Uhuru never observed court orders. And that is exactly what we have now. That the president, who actually was supposed to be a law and order president, on most of these things, he's actually repeating exactly what Uhuru used to do. I don't know whether when somebody becomes a president, they find this difficulty and they want to consolidate more power to themselves. And yet when you listen to many people discuss this matter, they'll tell you that once you have a good president, he should be able to surround himself with clever people. The good lawyers whom he's supposed to be having right now should be advising him what is constitutional and what is not. When Kindiki Kithure, a man we highly respect from both sides of the aisle, stands up in public and says that nobody can hold demonstrations, he knows he's actually going against the Constitution.
He's actually an ICC lawyer.
And he's an ICC lawyer. Then the other issue that is coming up, Sam, right now, then these are the issues that we are trying to raise with our brothers. We should never head back to where we were in 2007, 2008. Can you imagine, you're talking about after 2008, now again, that prosecutors from the ICC are landing in Nairobi and they're beginning investigations about people being killed and murdered because of the riots and demonstrations, or rather because of political reasons? Can you imagine we are going back there? And this is the point we are telling some of our colleagues. The truth is, you may not have been directly involved in that exercise because some of my colleagues are really quite young. But the reality is, Sami, if we are not willing to save our country, me, I'm going to tell my brothers here, all these stories we are going to talk about, whether you implemented the act and everything, I would like to ask my brothers, especially the younger politicians who are in the KK Alliance and some of the ones who are experienced, to try and persuade their friends so that they don't put the president under siege. Right now, President Ruto is under siege. He can't make a decision. He's being told by...
What do you mean with that?
The members of parliament from Central have already started threatening him. If you have a handshake with Raila, we'll walk away. Some of them are telling him, you are the one who told our Raila, our people, how Raila is a demon. Now how do we go and sell him again?
Is there any plan to have a handshake?
Say what?
Is there any plan to have a handshake?
Absolutely none.
So
our colleagues are just fearing. We don't want to have a handshake. What we want to do, there are about 5 major items that must be done. Number 1, can we adopt the Kriegler report on the elections which are bungled, which were stolen in 2007, 2008? Number 2, can we agree on how we are going to select the commissioners who are going to run the IIBC? Accept the best principles. You can allow the church, you can allow who. Look for the best agreeable way on how we can actually have these commissioners. Number 3, there is nothing wrong in us having an opposition leader of opposition coming into parliament with an office and is actually participating in our politics from the National Assembly. All our leaders of the opposition are strangers. They're all walking in the streets. This is Raila, this is Oparanya, you're talking about Kalonzo, you're talking about all these politicians have no place to go and talk about their issues. Are those controversial issues, Sam? No. Can we make sure that when elections are being called and we are calculating them, look at the position of MCA, look at the position of MP, look at the position of governor and senator. They are never controversial. Why is it that we only have controversy when it comes to presidential elections?
Senator Onyonka, let's unpack what you just said.
Yes.
That the president is being held hostage by members of parliament from Central.
Yes, that's what we believe.
I presume including Honorable Wandeto here.
Yes. Yes.
You'll defend yourself if you're not.
Yes.
But he has to say...
That's why you see some of them beginning to talk about one man, one vote.
You're saying that they're
Yes.
telling him,
Yes.
if you have a handshake with this man,
Yes.
then there will be problems. Because
Absolutely.
you're the one who came and told us...
He is a bad man.
Exactly.
Yes.
So does that presume there's a possibility of a handshake?
No, it doesn't.
So why is it an...
Sam, in politics, you don't talk to your friends. You talk to your enemies.
So why is it
There
an
is
issue?
no reason why Ruto cannot talk with Raila without the KK Alliance team starting this narrative about, oh, now we are going to have handshake. Oh, you know, Raila is desperate. He wants to have cars and bodyguards and outriders. That's not the nonsense.
And therefore...
Our country is sick. You need people to sit and diagnose what's sick with us so that we can then come up with solutions to solve the sickness.
And therefore,
Politically,
Senator,
that is.
And therefore, Senator, if the problem is not that there is going to be a handshake,
Yes.
why would he be held hostage?
It is because what I'm explaining to you is the information, you know, on both sides, we get information from our different groups. The president, as of Friday, was actually considering having a discussion with Raila to ask him, what are your basic minimums, which we can sit and give an okay to so that we can cool down the temperature so that we can proceed.
And?
From Friday until Monday, also, you remember we were getting these reports. That's why he called when have you ever seen a president call a parliamentary group meeting to State House to go and discuss about riots and demonstrations? It means this is a legitimate crisis. And the crisis is people were telling him, can you tell us whether you're going to sign something with Raila because we don't want to sign something with Raila? And the point is...
How do you know that, Senator?
Sam, these are things you can know. You know, we work with, we know, we have friends in UDA.
Okay.
Some of them are friends in Azimio. I mean, Sam,
PG.
Honorable Wandeto, you come from Kenya Kwanza Alliance. Why are you holding the president hostage?
Before I answer why we are holding
Can
the
I just go to
president.
that
Oh, yeah. First of all, Sam, I was at the PG. Onyonka and Ososi were not.
We have friends there.
And when they call an Azimio PG, even me, I may not know what is discussed.
you always know.
All the issues that they are raising here were not discussed. There was nobody who said anything to the president to insinuate that if he takes this or this decision, people will walk away or they will leave him or not.
So what did you talk about?
We talked about the subsidized fertilizer. We talked about the looming bumper harvest.
On Saturday?
Believe. Yes, we did.
Okay.
Actually, the president has promised that he wants to review the price of fertilizer from 3,500 to 2,500 in the next planting season. Because we believe that is how.
Okay, so what did you
cool
talk
down.
in that PG? What did you talk about in light of the situation, the political situation in the country?
Of course, people expressed their concerns about the loss of lives. People stood up to condemn the many lives that has been lost. But we also, discussed about how we should move going forward, especially how we start giving Kenyans the right narrative. We realized that these Azimio people had perpetuated this lie too far, too long. And part of the reason my brother and I are here this morning is
They were given instructions to come and defend.
No.
Senator, allow him to
I'm not new to citizens. I'm always here every day.
Please don't be provoked.
Yeah, I'm not being provoked. No, we're actually having a lot of fun here. These are my colleagues. Yeah? Sam, we have to deconstruct this lie. It has gone on too far. And Sam, today, you have been amazing. Let me compliment you.
Please don't praise me.
Let me praise you. Because you have just helped Onyonka, Osoti here, to realize that he is abdicating his responsibility under Article 1. Remember when you said that these people had their day in Parliament, they had their moment in Parliament, they walked away, I don't know, they got all manner of excuses to be away. They never prosecuted these matters on the forum for which the Constitution requests them to articulate under Article 1. They are representatives of the people. They have abdicated their responsibility, and now what they are doing is to basically incite poor Kenyans to go to the streets and inciting people, into all the things that we are seeing. So, Sam, as Kenya Kwanza government, we are committed to peace. In fact, tomorrow, our prayer is that Raila Odinga, in the next 24 or so hours, God touches him, he sees a light, he for once takes Kenya as being bigger than him and calls off the riot. But should he not? We ask Kenyans tomorrow, let us maintain peace. We ask our police forces, exercise restraint.
Honorable Ndeto.
We cannot have any other life lost.
Okay.
14 or 25 is way, way too many.
Honorable Ndeto, he says that you are holding the president hostage, that when you hear there's a possibility of a handshake, the ultimatums that you're giving, what if it happens?
I don't know why you are giving premium to
I'm not giving premium. I'm just asking
to Onyonka's comment, which are untrue. Nobody is holding the president hostage. Let's start from that point. The president of the Republic of Kenya has sworn by the Constitution, and he has his own powers and privileges he has been given to the Constitution. He doesn't need to be held hostage by any MP.
Right.
But we have also given the president, and this is not just at the PG, always, being the commander-in-chief, we have always given him the liberty to do what he believes is in the best interest of the country. He may occasionally consult. He has a cabinet. He has his advisors. He has intelligence. And he also has members of parliament. The president has many layers to consult. And we believe that the actions he may take going forward will be the best interest of the country.
Okay.
What we want, Sam, is peace.
All right.
Our people have shut their businesses the last 3 weeks. We are looking, I'm told the loss in Nairobi alone is 3 billion.
Okay. Honorable Ndeto, I noticed how you just walked away from my question, which is fine.
Some I thought I've just answered your question, and even for leading a brilliant debate.
Senator Osotsi, I want to hear from you, because Honorable Senator here says that you want the Kriegler report implemented, that you want a select committee, or rather a model of how to select commissioners agreed upon. You want the office of leader of opposition. This was actually the proposal of President Ruto. Raila Odinga, I spoke to him on 18th of March, and he said he's not interested in such. That if there has to be anything, it has to be through the BBI route. The selection panel, there was a bipartisan team that was to look into it. Azimio walked away, claiming that there was insincerity from the side of Kenya Kwanza. So this is just emphasizing on the crisis instead of looking for a solution. How then can you come to the table with clean hands?
Well, Sam, allow me to make a few comments on the issues that have been raised by my colleague. I think the fundamental thing here is that we have serious concerns in this country affecting our people. Whether you are in Azimio or you are in KK Alliance, we have fundamental problems affecting all Kenyans. And one fundamental problem is the issue of cost of living and the high taxation. This is a problem that needs to be addressed. But what we are seeing is that we are seeing a situation where Kenyans and Azimio are presenting these problems forward. But the people who are supposed to take the lead in resolving this problem are people who are in government, the KK Alliance. They have trivialized this issue. They have made it a Raila issue, and now they are even making it a Uhuru issue. And they are trying to divert attention of the real issues affecting Kenyans. So
but you see, Senator, if you have so many problems, you start by dealing with them bit by bit. And I have taken you to IEBC, how to unlock.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
Standard.
I'm coming to that. Only that I am trying to tell you that the main issues here are cost of living and high taxation. So we expect them to listen. The problem with Kenya Kwanza is that they are not listening. Remember, we said 99% of Kenyans said they don't want the finance bill. But they went ahead, bulldozed it in the National Assembly, and quickly assented to it and made it a law. Luckily, we have the courts are now working. They stopped it. So we are asking them, can you listen? In fact, if I was President William Ruto, fortunately I'm not, I would just start by addressing the problem of cost of living. I would even ask the members of Azimio to provide solutions. And that is why the bipartisan was the right forum to do it. Unfortunately, they gave us their Team D against our Team A. And nothing could move in that because we thought they were just wasting our time. Coming to your issue about the Constitution amendment, let me tell you that proposal to amend the Constitution did not come from us. They brought it on the floor of the, through communication from the presidency. And even the other week, I heard that they have brought another communication to amend the Constitution. I don't know, to put in the Constitution the Prime Cabinet Secretary and other things. What we are saying, that we can agree to amend the Constitution, but let it be a people-driven process. Let it emanate from the people. Let us sit down and identify the issues affecting Kenyans. The process we went through in Bomas, where we all agreed and said, this is how we want to fix this and this. And later on, Honorable Nyonka was there, they went to Naivasha, they agreed, and they brought the final document
so you want a similar plan?
To Parliament, and they passed. But you cannot say, because you want to keep Raila Odinga busy, we make him the leader of opposition. Let's amend the Constitution. Let us do this. We do not want those piecemeal things.
You want?
And we want a process that will follow the law. You know, they have been attempting to amend the Constitution through the back door. For example, now, they have unlawfully allowed cabinet secretaries to appear in the chamber. That is unconstitutional. We have a court case going on.
Parliament passed it.
Yeah, they did, but unconstitutionally. And that demonstrates to you how Parliament is being intimidated to pass laws that are unconstitutional. We have a court case that is going to be determined very...
It's just a question of numbers, isn't it?
Yes, numbers which are being misused to pass unconstitutional laws. So the best way would have been to amend the Constitution on the matter of composition of Parliament, the National Assembly and Senate, so that to rightfully allow cabinet secretaries to be members. How is that process done, Senator? It's a constitutional amendment process to go through the entire process of constitutional amendment. But they want it can be initiated by any Kenyan can initiate the amendment process. What is stopping that Kenyan from initiating it? I mean, no one is stopping Kenyans from doing it. So why not just initiate? But we are saying that if they are genuine, they want to amend the Constitution. Why is it a problem of the executive and the Kenya Kwanza Alliance if any Kenyan wants to amend the Constitution and they are not? You see, you asked me about the proposal to amend the Constitution by KK. That is what I'm trying to address and say they can do it better by ensuring that the process is inclusive and the process includes all the players in the political space and also all Kenyans. They have not done that. They want to sneak something in Parliament, use their numbers, pass it through and say, now we have amended the Constitution, we have given Raila a job. Raila has come out and said he's not interested in that position. Raila is
Senator,
interested in a holistic
I want to listen to Honorable Lote.
amendment. Before you listen to him,
Yeah.
he is interested in a holistic amendment of the Constitution to address electoral injustice,
And I've asked you.
to address issues of corruption,
Okay.
to address issues of inclusivity, and a broad range of issues. And that's why he talked about a process similar to the BBI arrangement, where BBI actually addressed serious issues.
You know,
and you can see even this regime
the challenge I'm
is
having,
trying to implement
Senator,
BBI through the back door.
The challenge I'm having is that I asked you a question, you tell me it's a responsibility of every Kenyan. When I ask you another question, you tell me that this is what Raila Odinga wants.
No, I responded to your question on the basis that it is KK that brought the proposal.
I'm getting lost because if those are the issues and they sound like they're very similar to BBI, why not start that process? Or are these mandamanos meant for that?
Let me tell you, we will get there. Right now, we must deal with the priority issues. The priority issues here is a high cost of living and taxation.
So,
let us deal. And that's why I said they are trying to distract and divert attention from the real issues affecting Kenyans.
Okay.
By bringing in Raila Odinga, and now they are bringing in Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta cannot finance maandamano. And by the way, Raila Odinga does not need to finance anything. All Raila Odinga needs is to make an announcement, and the people come without being paid.
Senator Sotsi, I hear you, and you've told me what the key issues are enough times. Honorable Lote, you told me that the president, during the president's reign, the government has borrowed 700 billion shillings?
Not 1.2 trillion like inside here.
So you said 700?
Yep.
Now, the public debt on, at the end of September 2022 was 8.6 trillion shillings. As at May this year, it is 9.6 trillion shillings. That's a difference of 900 billion shillings. And these are figures according to the central bank. Not myself, not Citizen TV. What does that mean?
Well, I think, first of all, let me do something small before I answer your question. I'll not evade your question. But I want us to, first of all, look at how insincere we can be. You know, when the president takes the sword, when the power is handed to the president, it basically means that he's been given the powers to protect this country. That sword was a symbol when, during the conquest years in Europe, the king was supposed to be in the forefront of the fight. And so he was given the sword. So the president was given the sword to protect this country. And protecting this country is very subtle to ensuring that everything is running according to the law. Because the Constitution then provides the avenues in which this sword is supposed to be used at all the time. And I want to say we're becoming insincere in our discussions. Because one, there is a question that you asked very rightly here. And I think Senator Onyonka said the leader of the opposition are actually out of the street. They are not in parliament. And you've brought it very clearly that President Ruto had a proposal that the leader of the opposition then sits in parliament. And there were amendments that were supposed to be done to that. Who rejected it? You've said it rightly. I do not want to even bring the name of Raila here, but I think because of our discussions, Raila comes in. He said he is not interested. And what Ososi is telling us is that he wants an holistic. He wants. That basically means what Raila wants is what this country is supposed to operate on, not what anybody else wants. That is insincerity. This country belongs to all of us. So what we want collectively is more important than what an individual wants. So if there is a feeling of insincerity, which I'm feeling now, that the president felt that we needed the leader of the opposition to sit in parliament, like Onyonka said rightly, he should then have accepted it, not because he does not want it, then everybody else in this country does not want it. That is the first thing that I think we want to be let's be sincere in what we're saying. The next thing is we are talking about the Krugler report. We are told, let's implement the Krugler report, which gives elections results a finality. I think this has been tried during Uhuru's time. There was a contention, and they went to court, and the court pronounced the ruling, and the ruling was followed, and an election was held, and then finally the courts pronounced the finality of that election. We saw somebody going to the streets and saying he actually makes himself into people's president, which is completely against the Penal Code number 40. If Uhuru did not want to operate on anything like that, that was completely against the Constitution. The people that are actually purporting to say they want to uphold the Constitutions are actually going against the Constitution to go and have a people's president and an elected president. And we operated in 5 years because of that. And I think Uhuru was cowed to accept to sit with another people's president and himself as an elected president. This time, there was a contention in 2022, and the people went to court, and the court pronounced a ruling. What regular report are we talking about? Which finality of results are we talking about if we cannot respect even what the courts have pronounced? In fact, I've heard in many of these demonstrations on the streets, they say it is an illegitimate president. And when you say it's an illegitimate president, yes, this president was elected, there was a contention, the court made a ruling. If we cannot accept to agree with the findings of our courts, with the decisions of our people, are we actually sincere to this Constitution? Why are we calling a legitimately elected president an illegitimate president? And we want him to continue staying. He's got a sword. He can actually invoke some parts of our penal code that says you are actually breaking the law to call a legitimately elected president an illegitimate. And I think Ruto has kept quiet. Ruto has not said anything about that. Finally, I want to actually talk about another insincerity. It is not about the cost of living. Because these demonstrations have been there since Moi time, Kibaki's time, Uhuru's time. Before even this act now, the Finance Act, which they are still calling a bill, was signed, there were demonstrations, and that time it was not mentioned. Nobody mentioned the cost of living. And basically meaning
on the issue.
that the demonstration that we are seeing in this country is not a demonstration to address any issue to deal with the cost of living. In any case, in the last government, we had high cost of living. And at that time, Ruto was on the other side. Raila and the Adshin brother were on the other side, and Kenyans were complaining about the cost of living. Did we see the people that are telling Kenyans to go to the street that time? They did not tell Kenyans to go to the street. In fact, they were actually telling people, when people ask about the taxation, they say, wacha nyef nyef, we have to pay taxes. That is that time. Now that they're standing on the side of the Constitution.
A very short question.
I think I need to challenge
the cost of living
on
high?
the issue of insincerity.
The cost of living is high. I do not reject that. The cost of living is high. But what we are addressing and what we are seeing in this demonstration is not about the cost of living. The reason why I was actually bringing you back, I was bringing you back to the last government.
I want us to take feedback, look at the feedback. But the question about public debt, a difference of 900 billion shillings since he became, we've not factored in the month of June, which may actually have gone higher than that.
It's
how do you account for the difference?
I can also, like you're saying, those are records from the central bank. I also have records from the central bank that says government has not taken more than 700 billion.
What is at the moment? What is the public debt at the moment?
The public debt is over 10 billion. And before, in 2000 and
how much was
trillion? 10 trillion. And these are facts. When Uhuru took over, the public debt was only... I'm just trying also to bring, because you're talking about
yes, you're
records.
right.
I also need
when
to
Uhuru Kenyatta took over, it was 1.7...
It was 2 trillion.
9 trillion.
It was 2 trillion.
No, it was actually 1.8 trillion.
Depending on where you're getting it from. It was 2 trillion. It was taken all the way to 10 trillion. By the by the Uhuru's government.
But President William Ruto was his deputy for 5 years.
It was taken to 10 trillion between the 10 years of Uhuru, from 2 trillion to 10 trillion. The figures we are talking about now.
Just hold on. September 2022, what was the public debt? 10
trillion.
And now?
It's come back to 9-point-something trillion.
Relative, Sam, we've gone beyond the ceilings.
Because you are talking about...
What is the source of that data?
You are talking central bank. You are talking about a figure without looking at the repayments, because we are also repaying as a country. So if we are coming from 10 trillion and we're coming back to 9.7 trillion, it basically means we've taken some, but we've also repaid. So let's look at it holistically, not just...
The control of budget just announced a week ago, she said she doesn't, the Auditor General and the control of budget, they have said they don't know what Kenya owes.
Okay, they don't know.
And so if they don't know what Kenya owes, then these figures are also not also, you cannot tell us that these are figures here.
If they don't know, how do you know?
And how did you know?
I am telling you, the Central Bank of Kenya is reporting, just hold on, as of May 2023, it was 9.6 trillion shillings.
Yes.
As of September 2022.
They have gone beyond, beyond the debt limit, which is unconstitutional,
Senator,
where the parliament passed, we cannot go beyond.
As of September 2022, it was 8.7 trillion shillings. Central Bank of Kenya, not my figures.
We are on a spending
So if
spree.
you have a different source, I'll be happy to take a look at it.
Yes, I can get you the source.
And we are on a borrowing spree. We are going to
take a look at the feedback at Twitter.
In 2 years, we'll be at 17 trillion.
Citizen TV Kenya hashtag is Debrek on what Kenyans are saying this morning. And of course, so much conversations going on. Peter Gisure is saying that Telo Sotsi and Onyonka that maandamano won't bring the cost of living down. The two principles should meet and cool down the political temperatures that we are experiencing in our country. Bob Otieno, Azimio Kenya has no other option but maandamano to keep themselves alive and relevant to voters, hiding themselves behind the problems we are facing today, which once caused by the current regime, barely less than a year after taking over. Ken Nyaminde, the power to initiate dialogue lies with William Ruto. Raila Odinga has always been open to dialogue. Happened in 2008, 2018, Ruto should come down from his high horse and listen to Wananchi. Engineer Lazaro, leaders will bear the biggest political responsibility for applying combative approach to the ongoing issues. Threatening statements from both sides such we will mobilize resources to do wonders are being monitored by UN and ICC investors. Okay. J.M. Osoma, blaming Raila, Uhuru, Kalonzo or Karua is a mere excuse by the government for not having enough reasons to ignore the opinion of Kenyans and pass a finance bill to overtax Kenyans or make the cost of living unbearable. Punda Amechoka. Rev Hari, although cost of living is worldwide, the two top leaders should agree on pertinent issues. Had bipartisan talks went on, this mayhem could have not been there. Thus, both sides should avoid chest thumping. God bless. JKMA, Kenyans can really have a peaceful demonstration. Just cite what happened in Siaya last week. The citizens demonstrated for 1 hour peacefully, then went back to their daily duties. Okay. Kiptor Ruto, the government has done some essential decisions to ensure the cost of living is lowered. Some of these decisions are tough. 10 months President Ruto has been in office is not enough to bring down the cost of living to where it was 5 or 6 years ago. Opposition should be patient. And Lawrence Kiyoko, you're saying the only way to enjoy Article 37 is for organizers lead from the front, be organized with maybe uniforms and itinerary, and without security or on SUVs because they are on different grounds with the Wanjiko. Okay. And KCG, I don't get sense why we're only blaming Honorable Osoro, yet the opposition MPs who claim to fight for the people accepted the soup and betrayed the people. Shouldn't they be held responsible for accepting soup and absconding their responsibility? Fair question. Godi Baraza, Kenya can only move towards a prosperous future if the political class will cede their personal and selfish interests and focus on the real needs of the great Kenyan citizenry. The current political bickering is a sure recipe for doom. And Okelo Mwalimu, Kenya Kwanza leaders must desist from insults, dangerous remarks and alternative facts. Azimio leaders must urge their followers to desist from vandalism and stone throwing as police remain neutral. No life and property should be lost during demonstrations where the religious leaders. Indeed, the religious leaders have said that there is need to talk to each other. Now, it's 8:05. I have no time left for final remarks, but I have to thank you.
One word, Sam. One word. That I ask Kenyans to be peaceful. Let us make sure we don't lose any lives. Yeah. Okay. We don't have any other country to go to.
Okay, I think that's the final for everyone.
He says that for all of us.
Senator Richard Onyonka from Kisii, Honorable
thank you so much.
Titus Lote from Kacheliba.
You're a tough man.
Geoffrey Wandeto from Tetu, and Godfrey Osotsi from Vihiga. That handshake. My name is Sam Gituku. See you some other time. Bye for now.